I was circumcised at the age of 46 in 2018. I'm not religious and had a medical circumcision. I had had a frenuloplasty in my 30s, which had helped, but was not definitive in solving my phimosis. I was always very apprehensive towards circumcision surgery, and not without good reason, as I'm now most painfully aware. I had a circumcision booked with the NHS in the year leading up to my private operation, but backed out of the operation post-consultation due to nerves and hopefully having more control over things at a private clinic. I had what was described as a partial circumcision. Partial sounds good, in that less skin may be taken at the time of surgery, but the end result for me, unfortunately, was like having part of your sexuality removed, which triggered a strong psychological reaction in my case. When it dawned on me after about a week or two of what I had done, I went into deep shock. I could not possibly see a way forward for myself. I was suicidal. At this point, I needed help, which is a difficult thing to find on this matter. I was in absolute distress, the sort I had never encountered. I was left with diminished sensitivity and was unable to facilitate an orgasm through masturbation for 11 months. As for personal relations, my confidence has been decimated. On raising these issues with the surgeons of the clinic, their response implied I was suffering from a pre-existing mental issue. The foreskin is highly erogenous tissue, packed with nerve endings, which, if removed, can cause serious loss of sensitivity, which can take years to adapt to personally. I definitely made a huge personal error proceeding with the operation. Yes, there are warnings in the paperwork and pre-op consent forms relating to sensitivity loss and altered states, but what I strongly feel is they are not adequate, and that the preputioplasty operation should be tried first at all times before circumcision. If the NHS and other organisations knew the full extent of suffering some men experience from this operation and they took note, they would not prescribe circumcision unless 100% necessary and perform a preputioplasty operation as a default procedure. The preputioplasty operation was not available on the NHS in my area at the time, and I feel strongly that this is a main factor in my personal timeline that could have avoided my current situation. I had 2 consultations, an NHS and a private one. What I should have been told by both NHS and private consultants is that I should approach circumcision with great caution. It has caused me great reduction in sexual sensitivity, severe body dysmorphia, extreme psychological distress, which I cannot necessarily see an end to. I turned to my family members and close friends for help. Nothing could reassure my personal state. In fact, nothing is really the same as before. Circumcision has been very personally damaging. The official documentation and information to inform men of all the complications or negative effects resulting from this procedure are woefully inadequate. As far as I'm concerned, circumcision is a wrongful procedure that leaves a man in a wholly unnatural state. My GP worked with me fairly well on recovery, but I was never truly understood. At first I was prescribed diazepam as my distress was extreme, later antidepressants. The NHS mental health system took a year to administer mental health care, which was a basic firefighting response, 12 months after I really needed it. The only people who have any idea how badly damaged you are other men who've been circumcised. So with that very true fact in mind, how can a urologist or surgeon possibly advise you of any possible negative side effects? They can't. 99.9% of them either have a foreskin or have had it removed in infancy. The experience of adult circumcision has been terrible. I am sure that a dangerous proportion of men circumcised as adults are badly affected by this procedure. I am now off the antidepressants, but feel now that I'm still in need of medication due to uncontrollable depressive events and mood swings. I'm not saying I was a model for mental health well-being before the op, but now I have quite serious problems indeed. I am slowly recovering with the help of foreskin restoration and hope to be fully restored by the time 3 years have passed post-operation. By the time 6 weeks had passed after my operation, I'd discovered foreskin restoration movements in the US. At the time of writing this, I've gained 15 millimeters of inner foreskin and am growing more tissue at about 1 to 2 millimeters per month. The movement in America fueled, as some may know, bizarrely by the mutilation of about 50% of their boys at birth. I am a dedicated foreskin restorer. It is the only thing that gives me any hope to improve my situation. Thankfully, it does improve things over time and makes you feel more in control on the road to being whole again. I recommend it for all circumcised men who are not happy with their situations. So, with what I know now about tissue expansion from foreskin restoration, I, in hindsight, could have rectified my phimosis without surgical intervention by making a homemade mechanical device to hold the foreskin open with adjustable tension that could be worn daily over many months. It would have solved my problem. In the past, I tried 2 foreskin stretching devices called Novoglan and Phymocure. Neither are fit for purpose and have flawed design. The NHS prescribe creams and stretching methods to help cure phimosis, but the direction and instruction on how to do this and how long it will take are inadequate. My experience has, of course, made me very aware of infantile circumcision, who performs it and why, i.e., which countries, religious bodies, etc. I cannot fathom why it is tolerated in modern society. It is without doubt genital mutilation. Thank you for listening to my story.